Hello and welcome to Beauty by Jen, where we talk about whatever it is we want to. And today we will be discussing Sean Puffy Combs' big, huge 73-page lawsuit filed against him by Lil Rod, the producer. Now, this is 73 pages. It is long. I will be reading a little bit of it, not all of it. So be patient, bear with me. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. We are almost at 7K. I'm excited. So without further ado, we'll be getting right into it. Love ya. Okay, so let's get right into it. We have this 73-page lawsuit against Sean Puffy Combs from the plaintiff, Lil Rod. I have my glasses. Here we go. United States Federal Court, Southern District of New York. The plaintiff is Rodney Jones versus Sean Combs, Justin Dr. Combs, Ethiopia Haberdasher, Lucian Charles Grange, Christina Karam, Chalice Recording Studios, Love Records, Motown Records, Universal Music Group, Combs Global Enterprises, John and Jane Doe's 1 through 10, and ABC Corporations 1 through 10. This is a civil action. This has a trigger warning. If you have children or you are sensitive to this sort of thing, please do not read this or listen to this or research this by any means. Okay. So again, it lists who the plaintiff is and who the defendants are. Jurisdiction and venue. This court has personal jurisdiction over the defendants under and consistent with the constitutional requirements of due process, in that the defendants acting directly or through his agents or apparent agents committed one or more of the following: the transaction of any business within the state, the making of any contract within the state, the commission of a tortious act within this district, and the ownership, use, or possession of any real estate in this state. From September 2022 to the date of this filing, defendants have consistently and purposefully availed themselves of the privilege of conducting activities within New York, thus invoking the benefits and protections of New York law. In return for these benefits and protections, defendants must submit to the burdens of litigation in New York. So basically, it's just telling that this is what's been alleged, and this is the legal document to file against the defendants. So they're gonna do it in New York, and also it says California, Florida, and the United States Virgin Islands, that this has also taken place there, and that the RICO laws were violated, the RICO laws. So again, the parties, Rodney Jones, and all of the defendants that I named earlier. So, defendant Sean Combs, defendant Justin Dr. Combs, is the son of Mr. Combs and Miss Hilton J. Combs. He was born on December 30th, 1993. Justin Combs is a producer and actor. He has appeared on TV series like Catfish, the TV show Wild 'N Out, and Hip Hop Squares. Defendant Justin Dr. Combs resides at 1550 North El Central Avenue, Los Angeles. So first there's Sean Combs, and then his son Justin Dr. Combs. Then the other defendant, Lucian Charles Grange, Ethiopia Haberdasher, Christina Karam, Motown Records, Chalice Universal, Love Records. Okay, I'm gonna read this. Rodney Lil Rod Jones Jr. is from the Windy City, Chi-Town. He was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois. Mr. Jones is the second oldest son and fourth child out of 9 siblings. Mr. Jones comes from a long line of gospel music influencers. Mr. Jones started playing instruments at the age of 5. He began playing drums in church, and at the age of 13, he picked up playing the guitar. From 13 to present day, Mr. Jones has taught himself to play over 13 instruments. So they give a little information about Rodney Jones. Alrighty. Mr. Jones is considered a musical prodigy. His talents have led him to produce and create a commercial marketplace for music that has been recorded by some of the most prestigious and highly acclaimed artists in the music history. Throughout the duration of his career, Mr. Jones has worked the south side of Chicago music scene, playing with the following legendary greats, and then it just basically has everything that he's done. So if you want to check that out, you can go find the document and read all this. And this is the summary of events. From September 2022 to November 2023, Mr. Jones produced 9 songs on Mr. Combs' Love album. Mr. Jones lived with Mr. Combs for months at a time, spending holidays, birthdays, and missing major family events. Mr. Jones resided at Mr. Combs' residence located in Los Angeles, California, New York City, and Miami, Florida. Mr. Jones also spent several weeks on a yacht rented by Mr. Combs in the U.S. Virgin Islands. I mean, it doesn't sound like work. It sounds like, okay, anyways. Throughout this time, Mr. Jones witnessed, experienced, and endured many things that went far beyond his role as a producer on the Love album. The claims raised in the complaint have been corroborated through witnesses' statements, video, audio recordings, and images that Mr. Jones has in his possession. Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to record him constantly. On several occasions, Mr. Combs took Mr. Jones' cell phone and began recording himself. As a result, Mr. Jones has secured hundreds of hours of footage and audio recordings of Mr. Combs, his staff, and his guests engaging in serious illegal activity. Shots fired. Mr. Jones has secured irrefutable evidence of the acquisition, use, and distribution, of ecstasy, cocaine, DHB, ketamine, marijuana, and mushrooms, the display and distribution of unregistered illegal firearms. That was page 7. Mr. Combs providing laced alcoholic beverages to minors and ex-workers, at his homes in California, New York, the U.S. Virgin Islands, and Florida. Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Karam, KK, instructing her staff to retrieve drugs so that she can provide it to Mr. Combs for his consumption. Christian Combs drugging and sexually assaulting a woman. Mr. Combs detailing how he planned to leverage his relationship with Bishop T.D. Jakes to soften, wow, T.D. Jakes coming up again, T.D. Jakes, to soften the impact on his public images of Cassie Ventura's lawsuit. Young Miami's cousin and or assistant actually assaulting Mr. Jones, actor Cuba Gooding Jr. actually harassing and assaulting Mr. Jones, rappers redacted on Mr. Combs' yacht, consorting with underage girls, ex-workers, and R&B singer redacted in Mr. Combs' Los Angeles home, consorting with underage girls and ex-workers. It says Chalice Recording Studios shooting. On or about September 12, 2022, Mr. Combs held a writers and producers camp at Chalice Recording Studio at 845 Highland Avenue, Los Angeles, California. Present at this camp were Mr. Combs, his son Justin Combs, and Justin's friend named G. Mr. G is a 30-year-old tall African-American male. In addition to these individuals, other musicians were present at the camp. The writer has spoken to several musicians who attended the camp. One evening during this camp, Mr. Combs, Combs and G were in a heated conversation. That conversation was moved out of the studio and into a restroom adjacent to where Mr. Jones was sitting. Mr. Jones was approximately 2 feet away from the bathroom when gunshots rang out. Mr. Jones recalls hearing multiple gunshots. This writer spoke with several employees of the yacht rented by, it says my, but I guess they mean by Mr. Combs in the U.S. Virgin Islands, who personally witnessed defendant Karam instruct her staff Brendan Paul, Frankie Centella, and Moy Buon spike 2 spike bottles of champagne with ecstasy. A complaint is forthcoming. He is a Philadelphia rapper who dated. Oh, okay. So I see what they're doing. So pardon me. What they're doing is explaining the redacted things from earlier. So earlier it says that a rapper was redacted, and they're saying it was a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. I mean, I only know one Philadelphia rapper that dated Nicki Minaj, but I could be wrong, but who are y'all thinking? So basically what they did was they, for everyone that was redacted a pair earlier, they just like gave you hints. Like it's like a game show or something. But anyways, so you'll just have to read it yourself. Anyways, Mr. Jones immediately went into a state of shock and fear that he would be shot next. Mr. Jones genuinely believed that he would be shot through the door due to how close he was. After the shooting ended, a crowd gathered around the restroom. When the door finally opened, Mr. Combs and Jay Combs exited. He was lying on the restroom floor in a fetal position, holding his stomach and bleeding out of his leg hip area. Everyone stood around looking upon G. Frustrated by the lack of aid to G, Mr. Jones dropped everything, ran to G, and immediately began placing pressure on G's gunshot wound to his stomach. As he was applying pressure on his stomach, Mr. Jones realized that G was gushing blood from another area near his leg hip. He decided to lift G and placed him to sit on the toilet. Mr. Jones asked the crowd to call the ambulance. Mr. Jones lifted G and brought him to the ambulance at the studio's front. At this time, Mr. Combs and Justin disappeared to another part of the studio. Mr. Combs gave strict instructions to inform the police that he had nothing to do with the shooting. He also forced Mr. Jones to lie to the police by telling them that G was shot standing outside the studio by a drive-by assailant. These are some really serious accusations. Wow. Okay. Mr. Combs used access to Stevie J and his knowledge of Mr. Jones' admiration of Stevie J to groom and entice Mr. Jones to engage in homosexuality. Mr. Combs went so far as to share a video of Stevie J anally penetrating a Caucasian male without a condom. This was done to ease Mr. Jones' anxiety concerning homosexuality. According to Mr. Combs, this is a normal practice in the music industry. Look, even Stevie J is doing it. Mr. Combs informed Mr. Jones that he had engaged in sexual intercourse with rapper Redacted, R&B singer Redacted, and Stevie J. Mr. Combs promised to make sure that Mr. Jones wins Producer of the Year at the Grammys if he engaged in homosexuality. The following are screenshots of the video of Stevie J anally penetrating a Caucasian male that Mr. Combs provided to Mr. Jones. So I'm going to just skip past that because we don't want no problems. So again, it's saying that the Redacted people are a Philadelphia rapper who dated Nicki Minaj. So figure that out. And for the R&B singer, he performed at the Super Bowl and had a successful Vegas residency. Performed at the Super Bowl, R&B singer. And I don't know what they're talking about that. And then skipping past all the, Thanksgiving 2022, Mr. Jones is actually assaulted by Young Miami's cousin. A lot going on. On Thanksgiving Day 2022, Mr. Jones was in Mr. Combs' house located in Miami, Florida. Young Miami and her female cousins were also present. Mr. Combs was intoxicated and offered cocaine to Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones rejected him and proceeded to walk to the restroom. While using the restroom, Young Miami's cousin burst into the bathroom and began groping Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones believes that Mr. Combs sent her in there to actually assault Mr. Jones. As she entered the bathroom, she dropped to her knees and began performing oral acts for Mr. Jones' exposed penis. Wow. Mr. Jones pushed her away and exited the bathroom. Young Miami's cousins did not accept Mr. Jones' rejection as she proceeded to follow Mr. Jones out of the bathroom. She started undressing and attempted to straddle him and have sex with him in the presence of Mr. Combs and his staffing. Boy, they was getting it in. Hide your wife, hide your kids. Okay. Once again, Mr. Jones pushed her off. The following are images from a video of Young Miami, her cousin, Mr. Jones, and Mr. Combs. Mr. Jones and Mr. Combs on Thanksgiving Day, right before Mr. Combs invites Mr. Jones into the restroom and attempted to force him to take cocaine. Young Miami and her female cousin who actually assaulted Mr. Jones on Thanksgiving Day. So these are the images. Why they took so many pictures? Anyways, Trafficking and Victims Protection Act. Throughout his time with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was transported from California to New York, Florida, and the United States Virgin Islands. During this time, Mr. Jones was forced to solicit ex-workers and perform ex acts to the pleasure of Mr. Combs. On or about February 4th, 2023, Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to bring prostitutes and ex-workers back to his home in Miami, Florida. Wowzers. The ex-workers that Mr. Combs forced Mr. Jones to bring back to his home on about February 2nd, 2023 incident, Mr. Jones believes Mr. Combs drugged him. Mr. Jones recalls waking up naked, dizzy, and confused. He was in bed with two ex-workers and Mr. Combs. He also recalls aimlessly wandering around the house with no clothes on. They just have some images, a lot of images. Just past all that though. Ex-workers in Mr. Jones' bed the morning after being drugged. On another occasion in Miami, Florida, on Thanksgiving night of 2022, Mr. Combs asked Mr. Jones and DeForest Taylor to enter the studio bathroom. He asked them for a $100 bill because he wanted them to do cocaine with him. Mr. Jones was scared, but luckily he didn't have a $100 bill, so Mr. Combs waited a little later to do coke with Young Miami. Later that evening, he required Mr. Jones to solicit ex-workers from Booby Trap on the River, located at 3615 Northwest South River Drive, Miami. Mr. Jones did so, and Mr. Combs forced him to engage in unsolicited acts with these workers. Now, all that money they got, and they didn't have a $100 bill. I thought they walk around with stacks of money. I don't know. All right. Cocaine and everything. All right. Booby Trap on the River. As part of Mr. Jones' ex-worker recruitment tools, Mr. Combs provided Mr. Jones with an exclusive Bad Boy baseball cap and required him to wear it to Booby Trap on the River as a signal to any ex-worker he approached that Mr. Combs was in town and had sent Mr. Jones to recruit them. Wow. Mr. Jones had no desire to visit Booby Trap on the River. Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit ex-workers from Booby Trap on the River. Mr. Combs used his power and influence to intimidate and force Mr. Jones into soliciting ex-workers from Booby Trap on the River. As detailed below, Mr. Combs used many tactics to maintain dominion and control of Mr. Jones. Apparently, these workers are accustomed to serving Mr. Combs and would know that he is in town by the sight of the Bad Boys baseball cap. But they had cold hats. The following are Instagram profiles of two of the ex-workers that Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to solicit and have sex with at his home in Miami, Florida. All right, let's pass by the prostitutes. Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit and or have sex with the individuals in the previous paragraph. Mr. Combs used his power and influence to intimidate and force Mr. Jones into soliciting and sleeping with these women. The following is the phone number of another ex-worker that Mr. Combs required Mr. Jones to solicit and perform sex acts with at his home in Miami, Florida. Mr. Jones had no desire to solicit or have sex with the individual in the previous paragraphs. And it just goes on to say pretty much in detail how Mr. Jones didn't want to do any of that thing and any of those things. And, you know, everybody's part, the defendant's part that they played in all this. So I'm going to skip past that. But if you guys want to, you know, read it on your own later, you can just pause the video and read all that. Mr. Combs and J. Combs solicits drugs and engage in illicit sex acts with minors and ex-workers. On or about July 2nd, 2023 in California, Mr. Combs had a listening party at his home. Present at this party was an R&B artist, redacted, J. Combs, ex-workers, and some underage girls. The event began at 7 p.m. Mr. Combs requested female ex-workers and required Mr. Jones to solicit them. An hour later, several ex-workers appeared. In addition to ex-workers, there were at least 5 women in the crowd that were under the age of 16. Mr. Combs forced all the women to drink Lace de Leon liquor. Upon information and belief, Mr. Combs laced the liquor with ecstasy. Mr. Combs did not check the identification of any of these underage girls. The presence of these underage women made Mr. Jones very uncomfortable. He attempted to leave, and Mr. Combs forced him to stay. Mr. Combs went so far as to take Mr. Jones' car keys to prevent him from leaving. After being forced to drink Lace Deleon shots, Mr. Jones began feeling lightheaded and recalls passing out and waking up at 4 a.m. the following morning, naked with ex-workers sleeping next to him. Screenshots of a video from the night is embedded below. Ooh. And it says the R&B singer was a award-winning R&B Grammy winner. I don't know. And, well, let's just say he is a Grammy award-winning R&B singer who had trouble with law enforcement after assaulting a Bayesian billionaire. Now, come on, they playing games now. If y'all gonna give us the details like that, why even redact? We all know who the female billionaire is who got in a little scuffle with an R&B singer. We all know how many female... Anyways, let's just move on. And then it has some more stuff, information, and then it has these pictures here. Mr. Combs with underage female, allegedly. Don't come for me. I ain't got it. So it has all these pictures. Underage female, ex-worker, Justin Combs with the underage female. But they making a lot of accusations. Okay, Mr. Combs attempts to pass off Mr. Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. Come on, it's too much. And I'm so nosy. Okay, here we go. Mr. Jones believes that Mr. Combs was grooming him to pass him off to his friends. This fear became reality when Mr. Combs introduced Mr. Jones to Cuba Gooding Jr. while they were on Mr. Combs' yacht. During the introduction, Mr. Combs suggested that Cuba get to know Mr. Jones better. He then left them alone in a makeshift studio on the yacht. It just seems like Mr. Jones had to do a lot. Like, I mean, where were all the other people? Like, y'all couldn't pass them on to them, or like, why Mr. Jones had to take it all? Anyways. Mr. Combs and Cuba Gooding Jr. moments before Mr. Jones is assaulted. As evidenced by a video of which screenshots are embedded below, Cuba Gooding Jr. began touching, groping, and fondling Mr. Jones' legs, his upper inner thighs near his groin, the small of his back near his buttocks, and his shoulders. Mr. Jones was extremely uncomfortable and proceeded to lean away from Mr. Gooding Jr. He rejected his advances, and Mr. Gooding Jr. did not stop until Mr. Jones forcibly pushed him away. The following is a screenshot of the encounter with Cuba Gooding Jr. Right? Oh, man. All right, the Love album. Throughout this time with Mr. Combs, Mr. Jones was under an implied work for hire agreement. He was not compensated for his time living with Mr. Combs or for the songs he produced. As evidence, he was listed as a producer for the following songs on the Love album's final release: Deliver Me, Stay Part 1, Reaching, What's Love, Stay a While, Moments, Need Somebody, Homecoming, and Tough Love. Mr. Combs and defendants LRMR UMG all benefited from Mr. Jones' work product. They failed to compensate Mr. Jones for his work. As a result, Mr. Combs and defendants LRMR UMG were all unjustly enriched at the expense of Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones attempted to work with Mr. Combs to secure his publishing and royalty rights for the work he completed on the Love album. Mr. Combs only offered Mr. Jones $29,000 for 13 months, thousands of hours of work, and 9 songs that made it to the Love album. Ironically, Mr. Jones was willing to take $50,000, his publishing and royalties. Mr. Combs' self-serving greed would not allow him to pay Mr. Jones an additional $21,000. All right. Then it just has some information about Cuba Gooding down here. So again, just pause it. And Mr. Combs' deceptive business practices became so bad that Mr. Jones was left with no choice other than to make a public plea on social media for Mr. Combs to pay him for his work. After publicly requesting that Mr. Combs do the right thing and pay him fairly, Mr. Jones received an onslaught of threatening messages from Stevie J and Love Records A&R DeForest Taylor. Now it seems like it's like a mixture of like assault, like the actual assault, and then like business as far as like what they did with the music, like all mixed in one. I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. Anyways, so these are here's a text message. It says, "You playing? I'm in the studio. LOL, you're 100% liar and weirdo. Good luck. Numbers still same. Run into nigga. Come talk to me in public on a public podcast forum." And then that's that. So you guys can see that. And then Mr. Combs used his power and influence to threaten and intimidate Mr. Jones. According to Mr. Jones, Mr. Combs is very forceful and demanding. Mr. Combs does not take no for an answer and would often threaten to inflict bodily harm on Mr. Jones if Mr. Jones did not comply with his demands. As detailed above, Mr. Combs threatened to eat Mr. Jones' face. That's some G stuff right there. Like, that's next level. That's next level. Nasty work. Filthy work. Okay, here we go. On another occasion, while standing in Mr. Combs' bedroom, Mr. Jones was forced to watch as Mr. Combs displayed his guns and bragged about getting away with shooting people. Mr. Combs shared that he was responsible for shooting in the nightclub in New York City with rapper Shine. And it has like some YouTube videos and stuff as evidence. He shared that the artist and Mr. Combs' girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, aka J-Lo, carried the gun into the club for him and passed him the gun after he got into an altercation with another individual. And so again, it just has like the articles and stuff and interviews and all that stuff. It's talked about the Chalice Recording Studios statements and how terrified Mr. Jones was because I guess Sean Combs had all that going on from the past. But again, you guys can read that for yourselves. And then basically this is talking about how Sean Puffy Combs instructs his workers and his staff to like do his bidding. So you guys can read all that if you want to. Just pause it and read it. Pause it and read it. And it goes on to talk about the other defendants. So if you guys want to pause it and read it. And like the Rock, all the other defendants. All right, it says defendant Christina Karam, okay, is like the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs. Wow. So again, you guys can read that. Wow. So it's a lot. Like, it's just, I would read the entire thing to y'all. I really would, but I'm sure y'all can't sit through my reading for this long. Like, you already did enough. So, But if you guys want to, Again, read it on your own. It's a lot of pages. A lot. I'm just scrolling through in case you do want to like what is this first cause? Yeah, so pretty much that's basically it. Again, it's 73 pages. 70 pages is very long. And it's just like, that was the summary, like kind of the summary that I read. And now it's just going into details about all of the other defendants and how they work together with Sean Combs and everything. So yeah, that's pretty much it. They're talking about mail fraud and RICOs and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you guys want to find the document yourself or however you want to do this, it's up to you. It's there. The public has access to all this, so it's no secret. They redacted the information that they wanted to redact. I mean, this guy is going after everyone you see here. Young Miami's cousin, Justin Combs, everybody. Like, he is not playing around. He said, I'm going to get my money one way or the other. Like, I'm going to get it this way or that way. You should have just gave me the $50,000 and called it a day, but you didn't want to. You wanted to be greedy, just like you wanted to be greedy with Cassie. And look where that got you. No, I'm saying all that. He's probably thinking that though, like, you know, you tried to be too greedy. But I mean, 73 pages is a lot. Like, filthy work. Filthy work. I'm just hitting a little scroll for y'all in case y'all want to go through the pages on your own. Like, I mean, I'm not even at page 65. Wow. It's a lot, but I'm just doing a little scroll in case you guys want to go through the pages on your own, take a look at it, see what the document looks like that Lil Rod, Rodney Jones filed. Filthy work. But that's all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for being here on my channel. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you. I'm not even looking at you guys. Thank you. Thanks for watching Beauty by Jen. Subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.